I was very excited, and I remember just tearing up and, jumping up and down and screaming, being like, oh my God, like this could actually happen? Like I could actually quit my job with this. And I remember it was like the first day that I didn't have to go to work. And I just looked around the house and it's like, what am I going to do today? I don't have to go to work and I get to focus on this full time. And I'm so used to just doing it in my evenings. I have the full day.
From Jump Cut, it's An Unconventional Life, a show about people that have escaped the 9-to-5. I'm Samuel Donner, and on the show today, how Laurie Shannon quit her cabinet-making job and used her passion for baking to create the Icing Artist, a multi-million-dollar YouTube channel with over 700 million views. For many people, what they love to do and what they do for work live in two separate worlds. We work hard, so maybe on the weekend or sometimes in the far-off future, we can do what actually gives us fulfillment. But our next guest, Laurie, will show us that there doesn't have to be this intense separation. Right now, Laurie is living her dream life, but it wasn't always like this. Once upon a time, she was just a kid, unconstrained by the shackles of the adult world. Free from judgment, Laurie found what she loved, an early interest in baking.
I always loved baking as a kid. It was one of my favorite hobbies to do with my mom. And I remember a lot of times just standing on a kitchen chair to reach the countertop and my mom letting me mix in the chocolate chips into the cookie dough.
Another early love of Laurie's was acting, but she quickly realized that this industry wasn't exactly for her.
But when I think about the job that I always wanted to do growing up, I always wanted to be an actress. That's all I could ever think of. I wanted to do movies or shows or something. There was something about being an actress and being on stage that was very intriguing to me. And I did one audition. And I remember after the audition, they said I didn't get the part just because I was too short. I was perfect in every other way, and I was just too short. I was like, nope, this career is not for me. And that's all it took, because I was like, you know what? I don't feel like going my whole life and them saying oh, your nose isn't the right shape, your hair isn't the right color, you're too short. And then that was it for acting.
As Laurie searched for something more serious, she looked to her dad for inspiration. She saw the creativity and physicality that was inherent within his job as a woodworker. She thought, maybe I should try that.
My dad was always into woodworking and had a shop and stuff. So in high school, I got into it. I love building things. I love being creative.
So do you think you invested more time in woodworking because you needed somewhere for those passions and creativity to go when acting seemed like it no longer was an option?
I think everyone was just kind of yeah, being an actress is impossible. This is never going to happen. I'm yeah, you're probably right. I still took it throughout high school because I liked it as just a hobby. But then when I was thinking about a career, it's okay, I guess it's time to get real and think of a very realistic career. So from there, I decided to start going into woodworking. So I took that throughout high school. Out of high school, I did a cabinet making apprenticeship. And as soon as I had my license and finished school, I'm yep, that's not for me either. And it didn't take until I had gone through all the schooling and done everything. And I loved doing it, but there was something that wasn't clicking.
Even though everything wasn't quite clicking, Laurie still had to find work. And it was pretty hard to find a cabinet making job as a woman. After a difficult search, Laurie actually got more than she bargained for. Not only did she find a job, but she also met her future husband at that job. Although she enjoyed working at the shop, it seemed that joy was derived more from her husband than the actual job. To keep busy and do something that she actually enjoyed, she once again began to explore her love of baking.
I was doing stuff on the side. I've always been a busybody, and I was taking cake decorating classes at the local craft store, but they weren't very helpful. I didn't learn that much. But it was enough to make me more intrigued to learn more. And I realized kind of during that time when I was creating cakes that I love the decorating side of it.
Laurie knew that she loved to decorate cakes, but her 9-to-5 didn't allow her the time to pursue what she really loved. Luckily, her husband spurred Laurie into action when he quit his job.
I think he quit first. He got a job opportunity, and I was like, well, I'm not working here without you. I'm done. And then I thought it was the perfect opportunity because we didn't have any, strings holding us down to travel. So we decided to go on a 4-month cross-Canada trip. So we bought a trailer and renovated it and dragged it across the country from east to west and north, everywhere. For 4 months. It was just a life-changing adventure. It wasn't until I was actually traveling and on the road, driving 10-hour days, just listening to music and your thoughts. Doing that when I came back, almost had this anxiety for me. I was I can't go back. I can't go back to work. I don't know what it is. I don't want to do that anymore. It's okay, but then what am I going to do? I just went to school for this and what now I'm going to do something different. Yeah, my family's going to be so supportive.
Laurie was faced with a choice, and because of that choice, she was paralyzed with fear. But this fear was actually a good thing. Laurie wasn't sure what her family would think. She wasn't sure what she would think of herself. But this uncertainty, this fear meant she was pushing herself out of her comfort zone. Laurie dove into this pool of fear and tried to make sense of it.
It was just having all those conversations, and I think it was asking myself those hard questions. What do I like to do? What am I good at? What do I want to do? And how can I turn a hobby into a job, and a job that would pay well? Through a lot of conversations and a lot of thought, I realized that, I really love baking, specifically like cake decorating, because I love the creative building aspect of it. I always have. So then I decided when we were across Canada that when I got back, I wanted to start working at a bakery. And my whole plan was I was going to work at a bakery for a year. And if I loved it, then I was going to go to school to be a pastry chef and a cake decorator, so I could really make a career of it for myself.
But she also realized that although she loved baking, bakers didn't make very much money. So she began to think about how she could supplement that income.
So I very, very quickly realized after working in a bakery that the pastry chefs that were there had the same skill set that I did, were making the same amount of money that I was, except they had gone to school for 2-3 years. And I knew that eventually I wanted to be working from home and being an entrepreneur and working for myself and being my own boss. I'm a terrible employee. So how could I do that? Kevin at the time realized that a lot of people were creating YouTube channels and creating careers out of them. So that became a conversation of like, okay, so what is YouTube? Like, how do you, like, we watch content on there, but how do you create content for it? And how do you make money on it? And we were just starting to do a lot of research and trying to figure it out. And it's like, well, just start creating content. And then I think they pay you.
They pay you?
They pay
They
you.
pay you and you
it's
upload
totally
a video.
fine. It'll work that way. It'll be
Easy.
fine. Yeah, it'll be easy. And I was looking at it. At the time, the largest cake decorator that I followed was at 200,000 followers. And I was like, that's success. That was the number in my mind, that when I get 200,000, subscribers, that's success. And at the time, there's only like 3 cake decorators making content on YouTube. But I also looked at other channels and being like, there's not really any channel creating the content that I want to create. And I wanted to share with the world what I was learning so I could show them that they didn't have to go to school to be a cake decorator, because I think it's just a lot of people's mindset is like, you have to go to school so you can get an education so people will hire you. It's like, yes, in certain circumstances. I mean, you can't just teach yourself how to be a doctor, but you can definitely teach yourself how to make a cake.
As Laurie taught herself how to make more and more complex cakes, she also started to teach herself how to make YouTube videos. And as is the case with all new endeavors, her first few tries were rough.
At the time, I thought they were brilliant. I'm like, this is great content. Now I look back and cringe and want to delete them from the channel, but I can't because it's a part of like the legacy of where we started and where we are now. Please don't watch them. They were very rough. It was Halloween, so I made a bunch of Halloween cupcakes. The first one was a red M&M's centipede. It was like a creepy crawly little cupcake topper. I just filmed it with a tripod. I took my parents' lamp and taped some parchment paper over it so it had like kind of a diffusion. I used what camera I had laying around. So I was decorating on the table in front of me and I just had it over my shoulder, kind of filming the shots. It was like one camera angle. And I had the light over the other angle. So it was kind of lighting something. So at least it wasn't like a dark tabletop. I had never edited video before. And my husband's like, oh, you can use Windows Movie Maker. It's the free software that comes with the computer and you just clip it together. I think I just used the help key. I think he remembered a couple things from like grade school or something. and the two of us figured out how I could clip together a couple of the clips. And I posted it that way. The videos look horrible and the audio is horrible, but it was something.
I think a lot of people are defeated by perfection. Many of us think that when we put something out into the world, it needs to be incredible. It needs to be perfect on the first try. But as Winston Churchill once said, perfection is the enemy of progress. All you need to start your dream job is a bit of action. And although it was far from perfect, Laurie had embarked on her dream job.
And then what was the reception?
I think I got like 30 views in the first maybe like week or two. But I remember it being like, okay, so I've watched it. Kevin's watched it. My mom's watched it. And it's like, somebody else watched it. who watched it? Like, how did they even find this video with like no way of getting on? Like, it was this mind-blowing thing of like, okay, well, apparently someone else watched it. And
Was
then
that
getting
exciting?
the first, it was exciting. It was also confusing. It was also very intimidating. Like, I didn't tell any of my friends or family that I was doing this other than my, like, you know, my mom, because I was so worried about everybody judging me of like, you're putting yourself on the internet. Like, it was a very big secret for a very long time because like the world judging me seemed less intimidating than my family and friends judging me.
Laurie was hiding a huge part of herself. She was living this secret double life as a cake decorator in fear of being judged. This fear seems to partly be what prodded her to work nonstop. She seemingly needed to legitimize her dream before she could share it with those closest to her.
Like a lot of videos that we were doing, I was creating cake orders for customers and stuff, which is like friends of friends. And I was filming the cake order. So I was trying to like double dip. So I'm like, that's fun. Like,
this is smart.
It's so smart. It's not smart. Don't do that. To me, in my mind, I'm like, this is brilliant because I'm spending so much time doing all of these things and I'm just going to utilize what I'm already doing and make content of it. But people didn't want to see those types of cakes.
Why?
Because what people order for cake orders isn't necessarily what like the internet wants. So I'm like, I want to just start making cakes for no reason and filming them and doing all of that effort and then doing what do I do with this cake after I've done all this work? And then I'm gonna eat an entire cake by myself or how many cakes can my family eat? And I'm just gonna give them away. Who wants this like random princess cake? I couldn't wrap my mind around filming for no reason. But as soon as I did, that's where the channel started changing a little bit. I think that's where we started picking up like a little bit of momentum. And
So what does a little bit of momentum look like?
I think that's the difference between like a couple thousand subscribers to maybe like over 10,000 subscribers.
Wait, so how did you get even to a couple thousand subscribers?
I really don't know. I don't know why they all subscribed. I think it was just like we kept working away at like I kept putting up videos consistently. I never missed a video. I uploaded a video every single week for the first, 4 years without ever missing one.
4 years?
Yeah.
Jeez.
It was a long time. Like I was very dedicated.
To upload every week for 4 years requires incredible drive. But somehow Laurie persevered, even when it was tough. When you're getting positive indicators of success like subscriber growth and more views, it's easy to keep posting. It's hard when you aren't seeing any of those positive indicators. And for a long time, Laurie had almost no positive indicators and growth was painfully slow.
Was there any time where you wanted to quit? Was there a point where it was really hard or straining? Can you tell me about some of those near throw in the towel moments?
I mean, a lot of times things aren't working and you're not getting any views and you're not getting any growth. But I think the thing for me is I almost felt like I was in too deep. I think for the first year, it was hope. I was holding on to this hope of it turning into something and this dream of it turning into something. That dream of wanting to be my own boss, wanting to be an entrepreneur and looking at people who were succeeding in it and being envious of that. I think that dream really pushed me through the first year. And then when things started getting hard, it almost felt like I was in too deep.
What was hard about it?
Just growth, like just trying to get subscribers, trying to get people to watch the videos, trying to get people to comment on the videos. I mean, it was very challenging. I would look at a video that I was making if somebody else was making, and they would have so many more views than I did, and I couldn't figure out why. And then there was this whole fear of being judged. So if I quit, it'd be like, see, I told you so, that this wasn't a good idea, and I wanted to prove everyone wrong. I wanted to prove to everybody that I could do this, that I could make something of it myself.
I've heard this, like a lot of entrepreneurs, the pain of stopping hurt more than the pain of continuing.
Yeah.
It's really interesting how often that is like a common trope. And so do you think that was like your main motivating factor more than anything else?
I think in a way it was. If I give up now, I never know what it could be. But also if I give up now, I'm a failure instead of a success. It's this like tipping point of like you're only considered a success once you've accomplished something. And what was that threshold of accomplishing something? So, in the eyes of everybody and in my eyes, I wasn't really succeeding in doing anything. Yeah, I'd had like 30,000 subscribers, which is like this crazy amount, but I wasn't making any money at it. I was still working full time. I was still, doing all that stuff that it was really hard. So it's a cool number if you're doing it for a hobby, but I saw it as wanting it to be a career from day one. I didn't want it to be a hobby.
She kept working, and after 3.5 years, she finally got an opportunity that would officially turn what was once a hobby into a career.
But another company had seen that I was creating this food content on YouTube, and they emailed me and hired me to create live food episodes on their platform. I was very excited, and I remember just tearing up and, jumping up and down and screaming, being like, oh my God, like this could actually happen? Like I could actually quit my job with this. And I remember it was like the first day that I didn't have to go to work. And I just looked around the house, and it's like, what am I going to do today? Like I don't have to go to work, and I get to focus on this full time. And I'm so used to just doing it in my evenings. I have the full day, because the live streams I was doing was only taking like 3 hours of time once a week, but it was paying twice as much what I was making at my job. But I think it really started sinking in that like I'd quit and that I'm doing this when I had to fill out on some sort of form what my occupation was. And it's like, I don't know what to write anymore. Like I'm not a baker, but I am, but I'm not. I guess I'm a YouTuber. That's what I'm doing. And I wrote YouTube. And it was exciting and thrilling. And like, I feel like that was one of the moments that stands out in my mind of like, I had succeeded. Because no matter what happened, even for a brief moment of time, I was able to quit my job because of something I'd started on my own, and I was doing it.
Now that Laurie was able to work full-time on her passion, she started to improve her camera angles and make more impressive cakes. But she didn't have the direction and advice she needed to grow as quickly as she wanted. That's when she discovered Viral Academy.
My husband, he always had these ideas with the channel. He was always very interested in it and did a lot of research for me of like what was going to do well and with the format of the video. Like he helped me with all of that. He was involved in so many small ways back then, but he also found the course and he did the course and then told me what to do from the course. And I think the biggest thing that I learned right away was that I needed to stop looking at this as a channel and start looking at it as a business. I learned a lot about my Facebook page and social media. I think that another big thing that I learned was like making people feel something. Back then, it was very much a how-to video. It was very structured and it was very serious because I thought if I was teaching somebody how to do it, I would have to be serious. And I wasn't really in my videos, so it was just my voiceover. And it wasn't until around that time that I started appearing in my videos and I started putting a personality behind it, and I started making it more like, hey, like come make a cake with me and stop taking myself so seriously, that I think appealed to larger audiences because it wasn't just people who specifically wanted to learn how to make something. I think it just excited us. I think where we felt a little bit stuck, a little bit stagnant, didn't know how to do a lot of stuff, it taught us how to do a few different things that made us really excited and wanted to work harder on it.
Laurie was working hard and was finally making a living from YouTube, but just barely. She was making minimum wage and wondered why. She had invested all this time in making her content better, and the content really was better, but she wasn't growing as quick as she expected. That's when the Viral Academy community came in to help again.
It was this weird conversation that I'd had with Kong at one point. And it was like, okay, but are you guys watching YouTube? It's like, no, not really. Like, I don't have time to just sitting here watching YouTube. It's like, okay, but like authors read books. Filmmakers watch films. You're a YouTuber, you should be watching YouTube. So how can you create good content on the platform when you don't know what content is performing really well on the platform? So we started watching a lot of YouTube videos in our category and other categories, especially with people we thought had similar demographics, to see if we could learn from them. And from that, we caught on to a couple trends. We saw somebody else, do a compilation video, which was just a mashup of different cakes around a certain theme. And they would all be in one video with just some music, no narrative. So it's hitting a very global audience. And I had uploaded it and I think it got the regular amount of views. Around that time, I think our views were about 10,000 per video after a couple weeks. And I remember the video had been up maybe a week or something like that. And I woke up in the morning and I was just checking my phone and I looked and the video was at 35,000 views. I remember running outside and not saying anything and just showing my phone to Kevin. He looked, he's like, whoa, where did that come from? It's I have no idea. This is crazy. And then the next day it was at 80,000. The next day it was at 150,000. I think it climbed up to about 1 million views after maybe a couple weeks, which was absolutely insane to us and very much proof that we should do this again. So we uploaded another compilation and it did the same thing.
Yeah.
And we uploaded another compilation and it did the same thing. And we were learning from them as well and started creating more of them in a way that got even more views. And it was oh my goodness, is this what it's like when you have all these viral videos? And they brought in $10,000 for the month or something like that. Yeah, it was a lot. It was just like, we just made $10,000 in this month. Like, that's absurd.
Back to the podcast after the break. As if Laurie's personal story hasn't been convincing enough, I'm here to tell you that you can turn any passion, hobby, or interest into a profitable YouTube channel. You can break out of that boring 9-to-5, be your own boss, and make bank doing something you love. If you think that sounds impossible, that's just because you don't know how. Take one of our students, Imaginary Ambition. He used to work at a local coffee shop making coffee for people. Then he took his passions for music production and created a YouTube channel where he makes music tutorials without even showing his face. His channel now has over 8 million views, and he makes a living doing what he loves. He was just an average guy who had an ordinary 9-to-5 job, and he was no different than you. The only difference is that he decided to take that first step and begin. I know that may sound hard, and I get it. It's scary to start something new. That's why Jump Cut created a step-by-step program to teach you exactly how to do it. Our course, Viral Academy, will walk you through everything you need to know to start your YouTube channel, film and post your first video, and take the first step into the life you've always dreamed of but never had. Our instructors, Kong and Jesse, among others, know everything there is to know about building a YouTube channel into a full-time business from the ground up. And with their guidance, you too can make that dream a reality. If you're someone who's tired of studying a major that you have no interest in, or if you're someone who has a dead-end 9-to-5 job, or if you're an artist struggling to make rent month after month, then you'd be crazy not to check out this free program because it could change the direction of your career and your life. Go to jumpcut.com/bake to begin this journey today.
The compilations really hit an international audience. They were very viral, very satisfying, very easy to consume. It wasn't people who really wanted to learn how to do something, who were just chilling, looking at how something was made.
Yeah.
So it targeted a completely different audience. And when they went viral, that meant it reached a lot of people who didn't know who we were. So when they came back to the channel, they saw our other content, which we had built a great library of good quality content that they saw, and then they subscribed and stuck around. And now our most popular compilation is at over 154 million views.
154 million views.
Million views. Yeah,
That's
it's a weird number.
Amount. That's like more than most countries.
Yeah, it's weird. It's really weird.
Those kind of numbers are huge. So like, how did that change your perception of yourself? Because that's a big deal.
It started becoming very terrifying when people started comparing stadiums to how many people have viewed my videos. It's like, that's 10 whatever local stadium full of people. That's more people than a Pink concert. And I was like, stop. Like, I can't. Like, that's terrifying. But it was terrifying when you thought of the numbers. But like for me, whenever I was filming my videos, it didn't seem so scary because I was just looking at the camera and filming what I was normally filming and thinking about my audience who loved my content. So it didn't seem so scary putting myself out there. It's not like all the other ones had 1 million views and this one had 154 million. Like we have other ones that are like 50 and 75 million. Like there's a lot of views on a lot of our videos, and it's crazy. We went from like 80,000 subscribers to 1 million in about 9 months, and then it doubled over again. Like after like another about 8 months or so, we hit another 1 million subscribers, and then another about 8 months, and now we're at like 3.5 million subscribers. So we've only really like we were at 80,000 like 2 years ago, like 2.5 years. That wasn't that long ago. It was just like this crazy growth. And with that came a lot of other really cool opportunities.
Yeah. Laurie has seen a lot of success, and she has ambitious plans for the future.
Now with where we're at with everything, we've got 3.5 million followers on YouTube, and our channel has gotten over 700 million views altogether and reached a lot of people. We've worked with incredible, huge brands like Warner Brothers and Google and Hershey's, and we've done live appearances on global shows like Live with Kelly and Ryan. We were nominated for 2 awards this year, one for streaming, one for shorty, and then YouTube gave out its first ever awards actually at VidCon this week, and we won. We were nominated for dessert noms, and we took home the trophy. So
congrats.
Thank you. It's very beautiful. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
So what's next? We just want to continue working on creating amazing content for our viewers, but also building out the other sides of the business. I mean, we really want to build out diverse, renewable streams of revenue. So we just bought a new house and we moved into it like a week ago. It was a couple days before VidCon we moved into our house. So we're going to be renovating our full basement to be an office and studio, bring a bigger team to work in-house with us so everyone's focused on the same project. And I'm really excited about that. And we're hoping that, maybe we can build out other sides, like creating a paid course and really giving our audience what they want, maybe also some products and working with more brands that we're really passionate about and working on like some of those long-term partnerships.
And finally, I asked Laurie to reflect on her time as a creator and entrepreneur and give some advice to you guys, the people listening to this podcast.
I mean, you went through a lot of struggles to get where you are now. It wasn't easy to get here. I'm wondering, what advice would you give to someone who's in like a 9-to-5 that they're not really enjoying and they have dreams of pursuing some kind of passion, but they're not sure if they should commit to it? What advice would you give that person?
Money was never really important to me. I was never a fancy person who needed fancy things. I just wanted to do what I loved. And I was totally fine not being rich and doing what I loved. So I followed my heart and I followed my passion, and the money came later, and I didn't really expect to be where I am now, but it's crazy that I am. But I would say, like, if you want to follow your passion, then you've got to take a leap. There's so many people out there that I see that it would be exceptional entrepreneurs, but they're terrified. They're letting their fear drive them, this fear of failure. And I get it. Believe me, like I had that fear of failure. I very strongly, and that's why I never told anybody I was doing YouTube. But I think you have to take a chance sometimes, and you don't have to make it seem like I'm going to be the next whatever. Just have fun with it. Think like, yeah, I'm trying this out to see if there's something there. If there's not, oh well, I'm just doing it for fun. And see, it doesn't matter what it is, just try, because if you don't try, you'll never know what could have been. And if I didn't try to do the YouTube channel, I wouldn't have it right now. And once you have it, YouTube is a roller coaster. You have to get on and you have to ride it, because there are ups and downs. And believe me, the downs are very hard. Downs are, spots where you're not growing and you're stagnant and you can't do anything and you're not making any money and you're scared, and like it can be very discouraging, and it's easy to give up. The easy thing is to stop and give up, or to not try at all. The hard thing is to actually try and to keep trying and to not give up. But those are the people who succeed. Kong also is telling us that, the walls are there to stop the people who don't want it enough. Because the people who want enough are either going to bulldoze through it or climb over, no matter how long it takes them, keep pushing at it, and eventually something will come of it.
When Laurie was just getting started, she had a long road ahead of her, but she kept trying. She kept pushing, and eventually she succeeded. I think what is most inspiring about Laurie's story is that it's fairly incremental. Yeah, she had her big break when her compilations got millions of views, but before all that, there were a lot of small wins that she needed to get before she could have that big break. Laurie just kept making incremental progress towards the life she wanted. And the awesome thing is, you can make that progress too. The first and most important step is visualizing what your ideal life looks like. So I have a challenge for the people listening to this podcast. I want to hear what your ideal life looks like. So DM me on Instagram at Samuel Donner, that's SamuelDonner, or email me at samuel@jumpcut.com, and I'll share the best responses in the next episode. See you soon.